The mind you think is yours belongs to everyone. That's not a metaphor. It's a diagnosis. You walk through life believing your thoughts are your own, that your desires are original, that your fears, your dreams, your instincts came from experience, from memory, from you. But what if they didn't? What if the whispers in your mind are echoes of voices long gone, ancient rhythms carved into the bones of humanity itself? Carl Jung didn't stumble into this idea by chance. He saw it in dreams, in myths, in patients who'd never seen a pyramid but drew them anyway. He called it the collective unconscious, a vast, invisible inheritance that lives beneath our awareness. Not learned, not taught, inborn, passed down like blood. It's why civilizations separated by oceans all told the same stories. Floods, dragons, tricksters, the hero's journey, the wise old man. These weren't shared by trade, they were shared by soul. Every time you dream of falling, of running from something you can't see, of standing alone in a crowd, it's not just your mind speaking. It's the echo of thousands before you screaming through the same corridors. Think you're afraid of failure because your parents were strict? Maybe. But maybe you're channeling the dread of a million exiled ancestors who equated rejection with death. That fear didn't start with you. It's older than you. It knows the coldness of the cave, the silence of exile, the terror of being left behind by the tribe. And still, you walk around thinking, this is just who I am. No. Who you are is not just yours to define. You are a living archive of survival strategies, symbols, and psychic relics. Your brain is not a blank canvas. It's a cathedral built by ghosts. That nightmare you keep having, the one that makes no sense, someone had it before. Someone will have it after. The collective unconscious is not theory, it's your mental operating system. You didn't install it, you just woke up running it. And here's the terrifying part, most people never question it. They live according to scripts they never chose, haunted by myths they don't remember reading, pushed by archetypes they can't name. They think they're free. But they're only following the grooves left in the stone by those who came before. The man who flees commitment, calling it independence, he's acting out the puer aeternus, the eternal child. The woman drawn to the broken soul she wants to fix, she's entangled in the wounded anima. The politician who weaponizes fear, they're invoking the shadow of the collective, not just their own. This isn't just psychology, this is spiritual architecture. And unless you confront it, unless you recognize what isn't truly yours, you will die having lived someone else's mind. Jung said, the unconscious is not just evil by nature. It is also the source of the highest good. That means the collective unconscious isn't your prison. It's your raw material. It's not there to trap you. It's there to wake you up. Because once you see it, you can work with it. You can rewrite the script. You can stop being a puppet for symbols you don't understand and start becoming the author of your own myth. But to do that, you have to go down, into the depths, into the dreams, into the strange symbols that emerge when your eyes close and the ego fades. That's where we'll go next. Because if your mind isn't yours, the question isn't who are you, it's who owns you. And that's a question only the shadows can answer. Before we continue, take a deep breath. Because what comes next may not sit comfortably. If you've made it this far, it's because something in you recognizes the truth. Your thoughts are not entirely yours, and your story might not be the one you wrote. But here's the turning point, because now we confront the core of it. Like and subscribe if you want more explorations like this, because what we're about to dive into is not only Jungian, it's revolutionary. We are ruled by symbols, not consciously, not directly, but through the silent gravitational pull of meaning buried deep beneath awareness. Jung didn't just study myths, he tracked how they operated like psychic software, passed across generations, silently governing behavior. Think of an archetype like a magnet buried under a page, and your life like a paperclip. You're moving, yes, but not freely. You're pulled, influenced, attracted toward patterns you didn't choose. You think you're choosing the lover, but it's the anima inside you drawing the shape of desire. You think you hate that person at work, but it's your shadow projected onto them. You think you want to be a leader, but maybe you're unconsciously becoming the tyrant archetype, craving power to escape powerlessness, not to serve. The collective unconscious doesn't speak in words, it speaks in images, symbols, dreams. Behaviors that don't make sense until you trace their roots back through myth and memory. And those symbols are alive. They evolve, mutate, adapt, but they remain because they're baked into human nature. Why do children fear the dark before they even learn what danger is? Why do cultures on opposite sides of the world independently worship the sun? Why do stories about death and rebirth appear in every civilization? Because the unconscious is not personal, it's universal. You don't carry just your life, you carry the weight of human history. And if that sounds dramatic, good, it should. Because it means your journey isn't just your own. It's a continuation of 1,000 untold stories that live through you. Jung saw this clearly when he worked with patients whose dreams echoed ancient myths, despite no cultural exposure. He understood that healing the individual meant addressing the collective, because what we carry beneath the surface isn't just trauma, it's legacy, it's code, it's sacred information, but it can turn into a curse if you never become aware of it. That's why individuation, the process of becoming whole, begins with descent. You don't ascend to enlightenment, you descend into darkness, into the unknown within yourself, into the archetypes you've become without realizing. You meet your own masks, you face your inherited fears, you learn to speak the language of dreams, of symbols, of instinct, and slowly you start to understand what is yours and what was installed. You begin to feel the edges of your own mind. And in doing that, something incredible happens. You develop awareness that isn't just intellectual, it's cellular. You feel when you're acting out an old script, you pause before the projection, you see the archetype in the mirror, and you choose not to obey it. That is power, real power. The kind no system can give you, the kind no title or bank account can replace. It is the power to live awake. But be warned, the collective unconscious doesn't like being exposed. When you start poking around in the basement of your psyche, things will get strange. Dreams may become louder, emotions may feel exaggerated. Life might start to resemble a myth. That's not coincidence. That's the unconscious answering back. Because now, it knows you see it. And the moment you see it, you can't unsee it. This is the second stage of your awakening. We've cracked open the shell. In part 3, we'll go deeper into the archetypes themselves. The ones that live in you, feed on your fear, and seduce you through story. And we'll ask the question, if these patterns are so ancient, who created them? Stay with me. The descent isn't over. The descent deepens, and now we enter the territory Jung called the archetypal realm, a world not made of things, but of forces, patterns, living symbols that don't just shape culture, they possess us. You've met them already, even if you didn't know their names. The hero, the mother, the trickster, the shadow, the wise old man. They're not characters, they're psychological gravity wells. When you step into their orbit, you behave accordingly, whether you mean to or not. And if that sounds abstract, let me bring it closer. Ever felt the urge to rebel just to feel alive? That's the trickster. Ever felt the need to rescue someone you're attracted to? That's the hero entangled with the anima. Ever found yourself giving advice that feels older than you are? That's the wise old man, emerging through you. Jung believed these archetypes were not learned behaviors. They're encoded, which is why children play good guy versus bad guy games before they can write, why toddlers intuitively understand villains and heroes in cartoons. These are not taught, these are activated. The archetypes live in you like dormant gods, silent until triggered. And when triggered, they don't ask for permission, they act. And if you remain unconscious of them, they act through you. That's how a man becomes a tyrant while believing he's a savior. That's how a woman becomes a martyr while thinking she's just being kind. That's how a generation repeats the failures of the last, thinking they're doing something new. Archetypes are ancient software. But here's the catch. They're not inherently good or evil, they're just powerful. And when you become conscious of them, when you see the hero, the shadow, the lover within, you can work with them, you can integrate them, you can use their energy without letting them use you. That's the essence of individuation. Not killing the archetypes. Not escaping the collective unconscious, but dancing with it, speaking its language, learning the choreography of the soul. Because once you can name the forces inside you, you can reshape the way they move. You stop being a puppet of the collective, you become a conductor of its symphony. But don't mistake that for egoic control. This isn't about domination, it's about harmony. The shadow will still whisper, the anima will still stir desire. The trickster will still tempt you to destroy everything for the thrill of chaos. But you'll see it, you'll know it, and knowing is the beginning of freedom. You'll begin to craft a life that feels like yours, not because it's isolated from humanity, but because you finally accepted that you are humanity. Condensed, distilled, alive. And that's what makes the work so important, because every step you take toward integration, every shadow you face, every myth you unravel, sends a ripple back into the collective. You don't just change yourself, you change the field. That's the paradox of individuation. It starts with you, it ends with everyone. But it doesn't end in words, it ends in silence, stillness, a quiet inner knowing that you're no longer controlled by what came before. You've met it, made peace with it, and stepped beyond it. But to complete that step, there's one final threshold to cross. One last question to answer. If the mind you think is yours belongs to everyone, who are you when you finally return it? That's where we'll go next. One final descent, one final confrontation, and the choice that determines everything. This is the final descent, and by now you've probably felt it. This isn't just a video, it's a mirror. Not the kind that shows your face, but the kind that shows what's been hiding behind it. We've walked through the collective unconscious, faced the archetypes, heard the symbols whispering through our lives. But now comes the moment of return. The reckoning. The part where you stop learning and start choosing. If your thoughts aren't entirely yours, then which ones will you keep? If the self you've built is stitched together from ancient patterns and inherited fears, then who are you willing to become when those patterns are broken? Jung didn't give us answers to comfort us. He gave us tools to confront what most people spend their lives avoiding. Because integration isn't enlightenment. It's war. It's sitting face to face with your own mind and asking it who taught you to think this way. Then, listening. Not running. Not fixing. Just listening. And in that stillness, the real voice begins to emerge. Not the collective one, yours. And here's the thing, it's not easy. The archetypes will keep calling. The shadow doesn't retire, the hero doesn't disappear, the persona will beg you to stay hidden. The trickster will offer shortcuts. The lover will confuse possession with connection. These are the ghosts of the psyche, and they do not go quietly, but they can be heard. And more importantly, they can be loved. That's the secret Jung buried deep within all his work. This isn't about cutting parts of yourself away. It's about making peace with the chaos inside you. It's about owning your contradictions, being both animal and angel, dreamer and destroyer, the wisdom of 1,000 ancestors and the silence of your own soul. Because individuation isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming whole, fully human, fully awake, and fully responsible for the story you now choose to write. If the mind you thought was yours actually belongs to everyone, then you have two options. Keep repeating the myths or become the myth maker. Be the one who breaks the cycle, the one who questions the script, the one who remembers that freedom isn't forgetting the past, it's facing it, claiming it, and transcending it. That's what you're here to do. That's what Jung gave us. And that's what Psychopulse is here to keep alive. If this resonated, if this shook something loose in you, don't just let it pass. Like, subscribe. Share this with someone whose mind is cracking open. We need more people who are willing to descend into themselves and come back with gold. Because when you do this work, you're not just saving yourself, you're healing something ancient, rewriting something sacred. And maybe, just maybe, you're becoming the kind of human the world forgot it needed. Now go. Not away, but within. The collective is waiting, but this time, you're not entering blindly, you're entering awake.